Okay, I'll take this opportunity to welcome everyone once again to this auspicious occasion. It is my distinguished honor and pleasure as your Director of Ceremonies for this morning. We are going to go through an interesting time of hearing about this GMO testing laboratory and the launch of the Biomaster as well. But at this point, allow me to just go through a little bit of protocol. I'm not going to go through all of the dignitaries that need to be honored today, because there are those that are more suited to do that than I. But at this point, just before we commence, I'd like to recognize the presence of the Deputy Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Dr. Gandawa. Thank you very much for coming through today, sir. Secretary of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Professor Gujganga. We also have the directors in the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education. We've got the interim board chairperson for NAB, which is Dr. Moyo. And we also have the CEO of NAB, Dr. Mfandayedza. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. I will leave this time to the interim board chair so that he can go through the rest of the protocol and also welcome us to this event today. So to give us our welcoming remarks, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. Moyo, the interim board chairperson for the National Biotechnology Authority. A round of applause.
Is it afternoon yet? Almost. So we are at the right time. Almost morning, almost afternoon, still a bit of morning. Just like I was reminded when people talk about GMOs, you start thinking about the fish, which has got the tail is a potato. So it's nice fish and chips, ready made for you, fish and chips. Or you see big chickens, huge chickens. That's how people look at GMOs. So, Honorable Deputy Minister, it's nice to have you here. Dr. Gandawa, you're leading a very useful and practical ministry, Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development. See, this is the crux of the matter. There is no country which can develop without science and technology. Everything comes out of science and technology. And you're lucky to be there, very lucky to be there, and guiding us all the way. Professor Gujganga is well represented here today. The directors are here. The board members of the authority are also here, the NBA, National Biotechnology Authority board members. The CEO, Dr. Mfandayedza, is hosting us here today, and also the management and staff. They are here. So happy that the CEO to Dr. Mfandayedza is also here today. That's Mrs. Mfandayedza. It all starts at home. I can assure you that. Yeah. My CEO also allowed me to come here today. And they look after, produce the best quality work. So they are very important. So my Mfandayedza, Tafara Ukuziwe, and I'm sure everybody are quite happy to have Mrs. Mfandayedza. Isn't it, Deputy Minister? Sure. Yeah, attend. So, we are very happy to have the media houses here, covering this event. It's always very necessary to ensure that whatever is done is information is dissipated to the rest of the population, so that everybody gets to know about the developments that are taking place in Zimbabwe. And at the end of the day, we should copy what we see, and be able to also go and practice it and start it off at our own institutions. If what we saw here today is good, let's adopt it and appreciate it, right? And it reminds me of the joke, Manyika, pano Manyika ere pano? Varipo, simuzei imokoto. Itu, pane tu. Wakane wakarora kumanyika. That's a good one. Adzi, pane kumanyika uku. Vangu vari pachikoro. Vana vachinyora examination. Saka vari kunyora examination iya. Pane kamwe kamwana kakagara pa next up kari kuramba kachingotarisa kachidongorera. Invigilator abva azviona. Abva akadaidza zvikanzi, iwe uya kuno uri kukopa iwe. Zvikanzi, ngati kukopa inini handisi kukopa. Handina kukopa. Kukopa mistress, kukopa process. Vamanyika vada kutaura chirungu. Kukopa process. Zvino mwati ndakopa inini handina kukopa ba. Process unotanga waningisa. Kana wazoningisa wokompare. Kana wazokompare wozoadjusta. So mochikompare moningisa handiti. Maningisa modi mokompare nezvamunazvo. Mazoona kuti zviri nani mochiadjusta. Mozodaidza Dr. Mfandaiza kuti takakompare tikaadjusta. Saka mwakuuya ukwedu kuti muzotivhurira muchiningisa muchiona kuti chiro chacho chamira zvakanaka here. Ndaona vamanyika vakuseka matauriro andiri kuita chimanyika. Zvakanaka, so I think that's the attitude. Dr. Mfandaiza, don't worry, you've done very well. The people have come, they will look and take all the good things, which is good. We want that. At least they've got a reference point. We saw this at NBA, their new laboratory, therefore we should also move in that direction. So, with that, it becomes my singular honor, really, and privilege to be with you at this official opening of the GMO testing laboratory. You see, at the other place where I work, at Chitungwiza Hospital, we have various grades of doctors. We have the junior resident medical officer. They're the ones who have just qualified, they're doing their internship. In the second year, they're now called senior resident medical officers. And then once they finish that, they finish their internship. And then they become what we call GMOs. But in this particular instance, they are not genetically modified organisms. They are government medical officers. So every time I see my GMOs, I always refer to them as the genetically modified, because they will have gone through the internship. So they become properly modified, medical practitioners. So, ladies and gentlemen, the government of Zimbabwe has all regarding of human and animal health and the environment from the potential effects of new and emerging technology, including biotechnology. In actual fact, let me point out, that's one of the reasons why I also sit on the NBA board. Because there's a requirement for a medical person to be on the board, to be able to relay that same information and give advice, working, from the Ministry of Health and with the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education. So it becomes very relevant, so that, the two ministries know exactly what is happening. Just like the board is also composed of people from the Ministry of Agriculture. So there's got to be that cross-fertilization. So to this end, the government of Zimbabwe ratified the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, which is generally referred to as the CPB, to the Convention of Biological Diversity, the CBD, an international agreement on biosafety, which seeks to protect biological diversity from the potential risks posed by living modified organisms resulting from modern biotechnology. And the NBA is the national competent authority for the CPB, as well as the national focal point and national competent authority for the biosafety clearinghouse of the CPB. So as a government, the NBA is fulfilling the obligations under the Cartagena Protocol on biosafety through submitting reports, implementing the provisions of the protocol, and attending all the relevant meetings. It is also important to note that the protocol was domesticated through the National Biotechnology Authority. That's how it's relayed, from the international world into Zimbabwe. And this is recorded as chapter 14 of 31 of 2006. So today, the event here signifies our continued commitment as a government institution towards fulfilling the national biosafety obligations. So it's all about safety, 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 continuous. Hence today we shall be witnessing the official opening of our GMO testing laboratory, which will assist the authority to analyze products from the industry, from agriculture, environmental and research and development sectors of our economy. And in addition, the Biomaster e-permit system will also be officially launched here. And as a testimony to our national biosafety obligations, this year alone, the NBA has issued a total of 1,567 import permits, which is quite surmountable. 72 import-export registers and 25 GMO declarations, 59 GMO certificates, 5 product registration certificates, 7 laboratory registration certificates, and 1 trial release permit. All those organizations who want to carry out trials, they can't just do them in isolation without getting an authority from the ministry through the NBA. Everything has to be controlled. Otherwise, we'll end up with a situation which is uncontrollable, with anyone just waking up and setting up their own trial without any authority and anyone looking at what they're doing. And as a board, we are excited by this development, and we welcome capacity development that allows for the safe and judicious application of new and emerging technology in spurring economic growth and national prosperity. Safety and judicious application of these technologies. These technologies have got to be looked at carefully. They've got to be monitored, and they've got to be recorded. Everything that is carried out, has to be recorded. And we have to protect the nation. So the NBA is here to protect the nation. NBA is here for the safety of the nation. And with these remarks, I want to thank you all for paying attention, and I hope we all enjoy this occasion. I thank you very much.
A very well-dressed lady in the front row introduced herself as the wife to the CEO. And, I marveled. And then I thought to myself, well, the CEO is Dr. Mfandaedza. That makes his leading lady, could we call it Dr. Amai? I'm just wondering. It makes sense, doesn't it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I'm going to give us the next set of remarks. This is from the SPS committee, Mr. F. Chinyavanu, who is the National SPS Committee Vice Chairperson.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Deputy Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, the Secretary for Higher and Tertiary Education, the Director in the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, the NBA Board Chairman, the Chief Executive Officer of NBA, I recognize the Director of Government Laboratory, the representative delegation to the media personnel here present, staff from the NBA, all senior government officials, ladies and gentlemen. As you have heard, my name is Chinyavanu. I'm one of the vice chairs of our national SPS committee. And I wish to point out that when I was told that I have 10 minutes to give a presentation, I said to myself, is that going to be enough? Saying now that I wouldn't want people to leave this place and say, there's a guy who was talking about SPS. What kind of a animal or monster is SPS? And I guess that would take quite a while for me to explain what SPS is and what is the relationship between SPS and NBA. So I will try to be as brief as possible. SPS is an acronym which stands for sanitary and phytosanitary. The sanitary refers to human health and animal health, whereas the phytosanitary part refers to the plant health aspect. And this comes out of the issues of trade. And when you talk about trade, I know you are aware that we have a World Trade Board called the World Trade Organization. And the WTO in 1995 came up with what is called an SPS agreement. And in essence, this agreement gives all member states the right to put in place certain measures that are meant to protect human health, to protect animal health, to protect plant health, as well as to protect their environment. However, the emphasis is that those measures, when they are put in place, they should be put in such a manner that they are not a disguised impediment to trade, and they should be based on scientific evidence. So one of the requirements of the SPS agreement is that each country must have what is called an SPS committee, a national SPS committee. And in Zimbabwe, in 2005, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, which is largely the focal ministry for trade, directed the Ministry of Agriculture to establish an SPS committee. And that SPS committee should actually include basically three institutions. Firstly, the institutions that deals with food safety, both locally and in trade, which is the Codex Institute. Then it should also involve the institution which deals with animal health, that is the Veterinary Department in the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as the ministry which represents the IPPC, International Plant Protection Convention, which is also in the Ministry of Agriculture. So, in that meeting, that we have an aspect that has been overlooked, which is the biosafety aspect. So we decided to come up with a fourth subcommittee, which was the biosafety subcommittee, which was to be housed by the NBA. However, the membership is not confined to these regulatory agents only. but we also have other ministries like SMEs, the Consumer Council, the academia, Ministry of Industry and Commerce itself, and we've been holding quarterly meetings in this SPS committee, whereby we appraise each other on what each subcommittee is doing in terms of the protection of human health, plant health, animal health, and also the environment. We have also notified the WTO Secretariat of our national inquiry points in the respective ministries, which are now registered with the WTO Secretariat. You can also find this information on their website. Let me then come to say that we know that when people talk about NBA, they just think of the genetically modified foods or the GMOs. But as scientists, we are very much aware that NBA is not just dealing with GMOs, but they are basically dealing with all emerging technologies that may come up, like the nanotechnologies, to make sure that our nation as a whole, as I mentioned, animal health, plant health, we are all protected from these emerging technologies. So we know that the NBA is a competent authority in this area, and we want to urge the NBA to explain these policymakers so that they get to understand and appreciate the importance of science-based policy in terms of the protection of our people. It was on this basis, on the basis of the trade issues, that in 2015, the EU came up with a project on strengthening of SPS activities in Zimbabwe. And they actually approached the Ministry of Agriculture, which was the focal ministry in this case, because as you are aware, they house most of the SPS activities, which is animal health, plant health. But the Ministry of Agriculture also realized that they were working with other regulatory agencies like the NBA, the Ministry of Health. So we came together and we formed what we called a National Steering Committee, which was supposed to spearhead the implementation of this project. And the project was implemented through International Trade Center, or ITC. We had quarterly meetings to review the progress. Basically, we're looking at capacity building among those SPS regulatory agents. And one of the deliverables of this project was to purchase several pieces of equipment which were supposed to be used by all the regulatory agents in their activities in which they have got legal mandates to. The NBA, for example, they are supposed to monitor the biotechnology issues, and they also had equipment purchased for them. We also had another piece of equipment, a GC mass spec, which was purchased for government analysis laboratory in the Ministry of Health and Child Care, and another GC mass spec, which was purchased for the veterinary department. We also had sampling equipment which were purchased for our port health inspectors, and also some equipment which were purchased for our plant quarantine department. And in addition to this, there were a number of training sessions that were sponsored by this project. And we would like to extend our appreciation to the EU for this kind of assistance. While I'm on the issue of SPS activities, I thought I might need to also look into the issue of food safety, which the NBA participates very actively, and they are also responsible for monitoring. Let me mention, ladies and gentlemen, that we also have an international food standard setting body called the Codex Alimentarius Commission, which in 1999 formulated what is called an Intergovernmental Task Force on Foods Derived from Biotechnology, or TFFBT. And the mandate of this committee was to develop standards, guidelines, recommendations as appropriate for foods derived from biotechnology on the basis of risk analysis and scientific evidence to promote consumer health and fair food trade practices. The task force was, however, dissolved in 2008 after successful completion of its mandate. And let me say that in terms of codex, today GM foods in themselves do not have safety issues. And then the Codex Committee on Food Labeling went on to agree that since the safety of GM foods itself has been ascertained, it was important to take into consideration consumer preferences on the matter. Hence, it was agreed that countries may require labeling of foods derived from biotechnology in order to give consumers preferences and choices. And on this basis, in 2002, Zimbabwe stated in its food labeling regulations, that is SI 265 of 2002, that any packaged food intended for human consumption and contains GM material must be labeled so. And at that time, the technology to test for GM was not very well developed. We see today that the NBA has acquired some equipment to test for GM, presence of GM in foods, which is a very welcome development, which prompted us to then say, in accordance to internationally agreed practices, we need to qualify when a food contains GM constituents, it must be labeled so. And then to qualify that, we actually put up a threshold to say if a product is packaged and contains GM material, as long as it has more than 1% GM material, it should be labeled so. And we revised our food labeling regulations in 2016, which are waiting gazetting at the moment. We also have in mind that some countries actually do foods to be labeled because they think that GM foods are, according to them or according to Codex, as a Codex established that GM foods are safe. So what is the point of labeling them as GM foods? It will just create an attitude to consumers. So some countries prefer that we should not label our foods as GM since they are just as good as any other. The maize is just as good as any other maize. So I also wanted to point out that since it is a very important aspect of what NBA is going to be dealing with, as well as ourselves as Minister of Health, we will always work hand in hand to make sure that we come up with these regulations and also enforce them. Having said that, I talked about our SPS committee. We note that our SPS committee is currently a loose conglomeration of institutions, of regulatory agents, and we do not have a legal basis. What is the way forward? We are hoping that as the regulatory agents, we are going to formulate or propose a law which is going to legalize the formation of this SPS committee so that we can work together. As you are aware, our food safety or the safety of our animals, the safety of plant, it is not something that one institution can do alone. It is always good to have a teamwork. So we are working very hard so that we have this SPS committee based on a legal instrument so that we can be able to work effectively as a team. So I wish to encourage all the SPS regulatory agents to continue working together with NBA as well so that we achieve our goal of protecting our people, protecting our animals, protecting our environment, and protecting our plants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for those remarks. Okay, so I think ndana kuti muziva hanzi mvura iyo ndiye dheko handiri musanu komani ndatona pana wangu atopedza. No, it is summertime is fast approaching, so we're excited. All right, at this point I'd like to invite to give remarks and also to introduce our guest of honor today. I'd like to invite the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, Professor F.P. Gujganga.
This afternoon has introduced the guest of honor. Our guest of honor this afternoon is the Honorable Dr. Godfrey Gandawa, who's the Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development. Dr. Godfrey Gandawa is a politician. He is the Member of Parliament for Magunje constituency in Mashonaland West Province. He was appointed Deputy Minister in the ministry after the 2013 harmonized elections, after winning the Magunje constituency. He holds the following qualifications. He holds a Bachelor of Science, Computer Science degree from the National University of Science and Technology Development, NUST, and also a Master of Science in Strategic Management from the Chinhoyi University of Technology, as well as a PhD in Information Systems from Stellenbosch University in South Africa. Dr. Gandawa, I've known him as a visionary. He's a strategic thinker and very passionate about development. But what is unique is that he is a development-oriented scientist in his own right. Other people talk science, but he is a scientist, so he lives science and eats science. Ladies and gentlemen, without taking much more, to invite the Honorable Deputy Minister to come and deliver his speech this afternoon. Honorable Deputy Minister, sir, may I invite you to address this gathering?
The Master of Ceremony, Napoleon. Yeah. He will still give you the job. I want to recognize Honorable Raymond Machingura, who is an MP for Chipinge Central, and Dr. Matarusa, who is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee for our ministry, the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development. Chukutenda Honorable Munogara Mchiti support. They are always with us wherever we go. And then I want to recognize the interim board chairperson, Dr. Moyo, my good friend, the principal director, academic affairs, engineer Ganda, directors from my ministry, the chief executive officer of the National Biotechnology Authority, Dr. Mfandaedza, Naamai. Management and staff of the MBA, the representatives of the EUSPS, the Ministry of Agriculture, Research Council of Zimbabwe, and the Medical Authority of Zimbabwe. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is quite my pleasure to be with you here this afternoon. It was supposed to be morning, but it ended up being afternoon, to open the GMO laboratory, the testing laboratory, and launch the Biomaster e-permit system. Ladies and gentlemen, the capacity to address biosafety issues is of utmost importance to the development and well-being of any nation. Our government places the safety of its people and the environment at the core of its responsibility, and the mandate of the National Biotechnology Authority of Zimbabwe is to provide an adequate regulatory framework for the protection of the environment, human and animal health from perceived risks associated with technology transfer applications such as biotechnology. There is no technology which is free from risk. And therefore, regulatory controls and provisions, which include the use of permits, testing, quarantining, surveillance, or inspection, is a must and not a choice. Hence the establishment of this important institution called the NBA. So regulatory controls also serve, to maintain international quality and safety standards that facilitate trades among. Ladies and gentlemen, science and technology is ever advancing at an astonishing pace. As we speak now, it's actually advancing and advancing. We might be left behind whilst we are talking here. So revolutionizing what can be done, even enabling the development of new valuable biotechnology products that were not previously possible. As I speak, there are projects on the elimination of malaria. I was reading the other day, I think 3 days ago. They were saying there is a research in producing GMO mosquitoes. Yes, GMOs. To actually produce a GMO mosquito, as we speak. Elimination of HIV using GMO HIV vaccines and replacing of chemical fertilizers with biofertilizers. So I want to agree to what you were saying. To say, in most cases when people hear about biotechnology, they always think about GMO. Hence, your organization then lacks support because people think how we can't support them because they are only going to talk about GMO, GMO foods, yes, but there are a lot of applications, emerging technologies, applications that we can benefit from by use of biotechnology authority. Like these examples we are giving here for the HIV, we can use biotechnology, we can use GMO in that specific area. However, in as much as the benefits are welcome, the risks have to be first ascertained, minimized, or eliminated. We eliminate if it's possible, but if we can't eliminate, we can minimize. But the most important thing is for us to ascertain which risks are those. So this can only be possible if regulators, like the National Biotechnology Authority, have the requisite scientific capabilities. And I guess they have the capabilities, but do they have the tools? So they need the tools. And special expertise at their disposal to support oversight of technology transfer applications such as biotechnology products. Such capacity will allow for the identification and quantification of the risks associated with a process or product to be conducted in scientifically sound manner that produces repeatable, accurate, and reliable test results, allowing for informed and increased public confidence. The representative of the EU-SPS was saying NBA must assist and inform the policymakers. They are lucky, the policymakers they have are well informed. We are very keen, we follow what they do practically and technically. So the regulatory function of the National Biotechnology Authority provides a consumer rights and informed consumer choice. To this end, my office, through the NBA, drafted and submitted genetically modified food and feed labeling regulations to the Attorney General's office. The lady who helps the NBA, I didn't recognize my legal advisor, she's here. Mrs. Kavia. So what is the purpose of these regulations that we submitted to the Attorney General's office is to facilitate mechanisms for the protection of human and animal health and environment from unintended effects of genetically modified foods and feeds, to allow consumers to make informed choices on products offered for free or cash, to provide guidelines for labeling of food and feed, and to facilitate the traceability of genetically modified products in the implementation of appropriate risk management measures where necessary. So the NBA received a capacity boost under the European Union Sanitary and Phytosanitary, that's the EU SPS project, which provided GMO testing equipment, consumables, and training. As such, I would like to thank the project funders, that is the European Union, for such kind of gesture of goodwill, and the project consultant, the International Trade Center, for project coordination. Special thanks also goes to the Ministry of Agriculture, Mechanization and Irrigation Development for partnering with the NBA in the EU SPS project. Furthermore, I would like to thank the Industrial Training and Trade Testing Department, which is in my ministry, for providing apprentices who renovated this laboratory here. It is such oneness that drives the nation forward. Not only benefit the NBA, but other institutions, academia, and industries. As a science facility, this laboratory will also drive the STEM initiative forward. I'm reliably informed that the European Union Southern African Development Community Trade Development Facility project will contribute towards the purchase of extra monitoring and surveillance equipment. The authority will use this laboratory as a facility for GMO detection, quantification, identification, monitoring, and surveillance. The laboratory will increase the regulatory capacity of the National Biotechnology Authority by about 10%, and that will contribute to the development of the National Biosafety Framework. This Biosafety Level 1, it's a Level 1 laboratory, is our initial step towards the development of a bigger infrastructure called the National Biosafety Reference Laboratory, which must be from level 2 to level 4. Biosafety levels refers to the levels of safety instructions which enable researchers and laboratory technicians to safely analyze and handle high-risk category organisms like Ebola and HIV. I'm also reliably informed that the NBA has developed an automated e-based computer program called the Biomaster for automated processing of permits, even from remote border posts. And the CEO always talks about these border posts. He's like so keen to develop our border posts so that we don't get these risks of GMOs coming in through our borders. The Biomaster will go a long way to improve the ease of doing business and the operations of the NBA. So with these remarks, I thank you all for coming to witness this occasion and hereby declare the Biomaster and the GMO testing laboratory officially launched and opened.
You want me to take my time?
Yes, take your time.
Like that?
Time, please.
One on the check. Like taking my time then.
We have to keep
all the partners involved.
Actually, look here. Yeah,
Thank you.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you.
Actually, muchikorokotedza.
Chukorokotedzai. Nekuva nelaboratory.
Eh.
Yakadai honorable vakorokotedzeya. Nekuva nelaboratory. Yakanaka kudai. CEO. Muya. Chukorokotedzeya. Biosafety level 1 laboratory yamava nayo iyi
It's the beginning yekuenda
yekuenda kulevel 4 toenda ivo veEU vari panuka vachizvinzwa kuti havana kupedza pa1 apa ngavarambe vachiinda level 4
Gonna married.
Yeah, ready.
Auntie Mati, I must take my time. Like I'm battling. Like I'm battling.
Wonderful.
Uvundo.
Mary uri kupi swedera padhuze
Kudya kwedu ko. Yeah. Tato on. Iri kuranga iri kama.
I don't think a laptop has ever been this famous.
I think it's the word the biomaster that's making it famous. So who knows the password? Are you the one who knows the password? Please, let's get in.
The intention was to
This is my page as the administrator, and this is the login page. And what I do, I go to this page. Let's say I want to add some products. There are people who come with applications. Sometimes the products are not there in the system. So we come here and we add the products and their sub-products. Okay. For example, they are planning to import acid oil.
Yes.
Maybe they come with another product which is not there. Yeah. So I normally add the product as an administrator. And the users, we come here, system configuration. We also have users with roles, permissions, department, system modules. We normally take the photo of the user and the IP address of the computer and other credentials that we add into the system for different users with different roles. Okay. So different users have some functions which are different. For example, they have levels. Okay. As from the inception, there are input clerks that input the details of the applicants who apply for the import and export permits. And then from there, it goes to the accounts. The accounts, they put in the details of the receipts. They do some payments and then they put in the details of the receipt numbers. And
the essence all around now is if a person is at the border, they apply there, they instantly get an approval.
The applicant, the clients, they are able to apply wherever they are using a portal. Yes. Okay. And then the details are also entered into the computer. And also all their details like the documents like tax clearance and other details that come from the clients, they are entered into the system. And then it goes to the authorizers. They authorize, like the Dr. Fadaiza, for example, he authorizes and then he signs for the permit before it is produced and goes to the clients. Okay. They collect, and then this also sends some SMSs to the clients that the permit is ready.
The permit is ready.
And they come and
so you are saving people time to come here to check if the permit is out.
Yes, they are notified.
So government is doing good in ease of doing business, isn't it?
Yes, it
is.
Don't
Testing laboratory. So that's it has been launched. It has been commissioned. Now people can officially work in the sister studying. She was doing the tour earlier. What's your name? Sorry, Varaidzo. Is it Dr. Varaidzo? Is it Professor Varaidzo? Just Varaidzo. Oh, that's unbelievable. So now people can officially work in there, and I guess the nation of Zimbabwe will be benefiting a lot from this particular establishment and the Biomaster e-permit system, that famous laptop. Now it's no longer just a laptop. They are national assets in there. And I'm also very glad myself because, I mean, Honorable Deputy Minister of Water, Chamar Basarako Rico. So, yeah, no, you know what? And you know what? It's a Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology. It's heavy. You know, you know. Kuna engineer, doctor, professor, na DJ. Next event, Nina would like to honor the director in the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, in charge of entertainment.